Hello there. Just going to do basically a video on the polymer clay stuff that I've been doing lately. Some of it has been for a cosplay that I am hoping will get an outing at Sydney Supernova this year. The other is just learning to play with the stuff. So basically, these are the originals that sort of sparked my wanting to do my cosplay. So this is the skull ring and the good mark of the Phantom Ghost who walks, respectively. Now these are my actual genuine as they get rings. Now the good mark fits the correct finger, but the skull ring does not. It only fits this finger, and it's meant to be worn on the tall one. So quite apart from the fact that they are my good rings, the skull ring's already been AWOL for quite a while. I don't want to damage them or lose them by wearing them to convention. They don't fit the right fingers. So what I did is I actually got some polymer clay and impressed the faces of both the rings into the polymer clay and made some very not all that brilliant molds, actually. Baked them and made my first set of rings on them. So these are the rings. As you can see, they don't look too bad, actually. I'm fairly happy with them, all things considered. I just used some scrap clay for the tops, and then I hot glued them to polymer clay bands that I made. As you can see, obviously, this band has cracked. They were both glued to a gold ring like this one, but this one's cracked and split. So this one I managed to get off the old ring quite easily. So I made some more rings out of polymer clay, but as you can see, that's broken and cracked there. They weren't great because they're not flat. They're not properly flat. They're all very skew-if and things like that. But for a first attempt ever at mould, you know, making my own moulds and sort of casting stuff from polymer clay, if that's the correct word, I was pretty happy with that. I also did this little skull. Let's see if I can focus on you. Not focusing, sorry about that. This little guy is going to go on here. Let's see, does the change in the lighting help at all? No. Sorry guys. This little guy is, it's the skull, but I've cut off any of the excess around him. And he's going to eventually wind up on a belt buckle. Because the Phantom's belt buckle, it's a inverted triangle with a skull in the middle. So I mean to make that eventually. So those three were all cast from the first mould. Now the first mould, I didn't know about quenching when I made those first rings in the first mould, so they actually crumbled a bit, actually, and ended up snapping completely. So I made a second set of moulds and I quenched them, and have since been quenching subsequent creations. So these are the second set of rings that I made, and I actually had my ring bases arrive earlier this week, so they've only just been glued on within the last 48 hours. And again, they're just hot glue gunned on. This was also, again, scrap clay, but the colour of these ones turned out really, really well. I'm actually really pleased with the colour of them. But again, they're not nice and crisp. They're not sort of straight. They're a little bit wonky again. But that's okay. It's a learning process. The ring bases didn't cost me a great deal. I got like 100 for something. 100 for about $4 in total, Australian, from China. It just took a little while to get here, and I'm a little less than impressed with how long the post took, but that's something different. Anyway, so I'm going to be making numerous rings. This is actually the ring bases, empty by itself. So you can see it's not a very big panel, particularly when you look at, say, the full-sized original ring. So I'm not sure how that'll go when I've actually just made today. I bought earlier this week some mould making putty from Sculpey, and as you can see I've made some moulds. They're flexible ones, so it's a bit easier to get everything out of. So I've actually got those things, those ones have just come out of the oven. They're quenching at the moment, and they're actually full-size copies of the front. So I've made a couple of those that I'll stick onto a couple of the ring bases just to see if it will work, just because it's such a small area to stick it onto. I'm a bit scared that they're going to come off very easy. We'll see what happens there. Anyway, I came across some glow-in-the-dark clay. Boy, was I excited, and have since made some glow-in-the-dark ones. Now, what I did was, and these were made on the old polymer clay mould, by the way. I actually put the glow-in-the-dark stuff in first, and then just put some scrap clay on the back to make it deep enough so I could pull it off, which was especially necessary for the good mark. It's definitely scrap clay, as you can see. I'm going to try this again using the new moulds, not today but sometime very soon, just to see if it's any easier, because it was very, very difficult to get the glow-in-the-dark to stick to the scrap clay at first, because it was such a little amount of it, and pushing it in without completely wrecking it. So that was a bit of a challenge, but I'm game to give it a go again. And then I sort of went on from there, and I thought, oh, I wonder if I could make a cane of the good mark in particular. So I did my first attempt at that. It's glow-in-the-dark clay again, because I don't have any white, unfortunately. It's glow-in-the-dark for the sabres and the edging, and it's actually phantom purple for the gaps. So again, this is a very first attempt. Never done it before. Fairly happy with it, all things considered. That was the full-size pieces, and then I did reduce the cane down to sort of this size. And it definitely lost some of the definition. I didn't have a pasta machine at the time. I have one now. Haven't brought it out of its box yet to play, because I just haven't had time or space. But I'm hoping to reattempt the Goodmark cane, because I thought, well, maybe doing a cane and reducing it to the right size in slices could make good ring bases as well. So here's actually one that I have put on the ring as a ring. Now, I wore this to work last night. I'm a disability support worker by day, so I can be a bit rough on the hands. Just to sort of see how durable they were. That's why I wanted my ring bases sooner rather than later, so I had a chance to wear a couple or wear a set around, and just sort of get an idea of how careful I need to be when I'm running around at convention. And you can see that it's chipped a little bit out here, which is not too bad, all things considered. It wasn't a really rough shift, but I was wearing it on my right hand, and that's my dominant hand. I use it for the most. I also had a small one that I popped on a ring base. Now that looks really, I'm actually kind of impressed with that sizing. I'll just pop it on. It looks really nice. It's kind of feminine, which wasn't necessarily what I was going for, but it's a bonus. Some people might like, there might be some other female fans out there that would like a Phantom Goodmark ring, but doesn't necessarily want one that big. So there's potential there. And it's worn really well, actually. Hasn't chipped, hasn't caught on anything like that at all. So they've gone pretty well. So that's it as far as my Phantom cosplay stuff goes. I did make this brooch the other day for a friend's 30th birthday. There we go. So we've got, it's a brown globe with a glow-in-the-dark cross on top. It's a bigger green globe behind it, and then glow-in-the-dark around the edge. It looks fantastic. It is a brooch. She's Christian, quite religious, so I thought, okay, well, that's something she can wear, and she's a crafty person herself, so she appreciates handmade things. So I must actually give that to her. So the other day I was playing with some scrap polymer clay, well, a variety of polymer clay, and decided, after I'd made the Goodmark cane and it didn't work out quite how I really wanted it to, I thought I'd try, alright, I'll just try a basic flower cane. just to get an idea of how difficult that was. So this is the end result. We've got glow-in-the-dark centre, again because I don't have any other light colours, phantom purple petals, and it's just a, what colour was that? Terracotta around the outside. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I've turned some into beads. I've took some thinner slices, turned it into buttons. I've got 3 buttons, 6 beads, and then I further reduced the canes, and they've been baked, and they're this big now. So they're sort of nail art. If I put that next to my fingernail, you can see they're sort of nail art size. So these actually are free to a good home. So if you would like one of these, please make a comment and we will arrange somehow to get one of these to you, so you can slice it up at your leisure and use it for some nail art. So that's about it for the polymer clay update. I have many things more that I am planning on doing. I have a christening, baptism, whichever you want to call it, this weekend, and I'm planning a gift for that. So hopefully I will get photos or maybe a video. And there will be the end results of the latest phantom rings. So this is a really long video, but there was lots to say. So hopefully you'll come back again. Okay, bye!